Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and sadly, I'm afraid I have to admit that the Switch, just like any other electronic device, is not perfect in hardware or software, and although issues with either are indeed uncommon, they can happen. If your Switch is unresponsive and won't turn on or has an issue with charging or holding a charge, we've got a few solutions for you to hopefully save you a tremendous amount of headache. As you might expect, any advice you follow in this guide is done so at your own risk. Everything listed is extremely low-tech, but nonetheless, we have to be careful. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling, let's dive right into things. So what do you do if your Switch won't turn on? Well, there's a couple of reasons why this might happen, but rather than sit here and bore you, we'll just give you the solutions. The first thing you do, and I know it sounds so basic, but plug it in to charge. I understand that must sound like the most obvious thing possible, but we're none of us immune to simply forgetting that the Switch didn't have as much charge as we thought. Usually the screen will still light up with a battery indicator, letting you know that it needs charging, but if it's seriously empty, it won't even have the charge to do that. Charge it with the official Nintendo Switch power adapter that came with the console, and leave it for at least an hour supervised. You'd be surprised how often this works. If that does nothing, your other option is to perform a hard reset. You can do this by holding down the power button on the top of the console, not the home button on the Joy-Con, for around 12 seconds or 15 if, like me, your second counting ability leaves something to be desired. Release the power button from that firm finger force of yours and press it once as you usually would just to turn it on. With any luck, things should now function just as you'd expect them to. This solution has even saved me in the past, and I definitely wasn't panicking, not in the slightest. But what if your Switch isn't taking or keeping a charge? Well, there's a couple of solutions you can try before taking the nuclear option. Use an official Nintendo Switch power adapter. Again, this may sound really basic, but the Switch charges using a non-standard protocol. So if you've been using a third-party solution, that may be where issues arise. We're certain there are plenty of perfectly sensible third-party adapters out there, but we can't vouch for their reliability or safety, but we, and obviously Nintendo, can indeed vouch for the official charger. May also be worth power cycling your official power adapter. It sounds ludicrous, but there's actually a surprising amount of electronic gubbins going on inside that power adapter of yours. Unplug it from both your Switch and the wall and leave it for 30 to 60 seconds. This will, in essence, reset the adapter and set things right. Before you test it though, check it for damage. Does it look alright on both ends? The official power adapter is a pretty hardy beast, but it's not impervious. Check inside the USB-C plug for any bent pins that might not be making good contact, which is bad. Inspect the cable for fraying, as this can cause a short, which is very bad. And as obvious as it sounds, make sure there are no cracks or buckling on the housing of the wall adapter side, which is so bad it's a genuine fire risk. If you see any signs of damage, do not use the adapter as it could pose a danger. Replace it with another official adapter and see if using a brand spanking new one solves your issue. If your adapter's fine and it's still not charging, then leave your Switch to charge for a few hours. If the battery's been really heavily drained, it needs to recharge slowly for safety reasons, and that is a tremendously basic explanation of how lithium-ion batteries work, but it's enough for the purposes of this guide. If your console only just ran out of juice and you plug it in, it will likely be usable almost immediately, but if it's sat for weeks or even months with no charge, it could take several hours to get even any kind of response out of it. Leave it on charge, supervised, for at least 2 hours, but keep it plugged in for longer if it still shows no signs of life. If after 12 to 24 hours you still get nothing from trying to turn it on, try a hard reset as we mentioned previously as one last attempt to get things going. If it's still not showing any signs of life though, if all of that fails, your last sensible course of action is to call Nintendo directly and discuss getting it repaired. If your console is still within warranty, they may not charge you for the service, but be prepared that unlike the advice we've given you, this likely won't be free. And you might be thinking, what about third-party repair shops? Well, we would advise you be very wary of using any unauthorized repair shops. I mean, chances are they're completely trustworthy, hardworking, and incredibly knowledgeable individuals who will be working on your system. But using one of these will in all likelihood mean that if anything else goes wrong in the future, Nintendo will refuse to repair or service your console, even for money. It sucks. It really, really sucks, but that's the kind of dystopia we're living in at the moment. Or maybe you're thinking of repairing it yourself because you know you've got a screwdriver somewhere in the house. This is even more dangerous. I mean, have you seen inside a Switch before? Wires, circuitry, resistors, strange tasting heatsinks. It's not like the time you blew into your N64's cartridge slot and quote-unquote fixed it. Also, don't actually do that. It's bad for the contacts. I really don't want to sound condescending, but I really want to prevent you from damaging your system, because if you really had the know-how and the skills to repair this yourself, you probably wouldn't be watching this video. Feel free, of course, to try the simple, sensible, low-tech stuff that we've listed in this guide, but don't go doing anything silly. And there you have it. Hopefully your Switch is now up and running again, because it is a hardy system, and realistically, the thing you're most likely going to need is a hard reset. That can seriously get you out of all sorts of pickles. But if not, it really is best to contact Nintendo and get them to sort it out, because then you're just going to save yourself a whole lot of headache. It's a nuisance, but it's just how it is. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you press that subscribe button for a whole 12 seconds, and be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye. This is what I actually threw outside. It's just a generic GameCube adapter that I haven't used in years. Do not throw these out the window.